Tonight, Manly take on Canberra in Sunday night football, followed by 60 minutes. Then at 8:30, Australia and England battle for the Ashes.
Canberra heading for a brawl with the States over Mabo. Tasmanian quads see their mother taken by a shark. Australia takes control of the Ashes test at Old Trafford. Good evening. The Mabo ruling on Aboriginal land rights is set to cause uproar at this week's special Premiers meeting in Melbourne, with claims it could lead to a form of apartheid. Labor and Liberal leaders are divided on the issue, but all agree that it's a problem which needs immediate action.
Prime Minister Keating wanted this week's summit meeting with state and territory leaders to take the first concrete steps towards resolving the highly complex and controversial Mabo issue. He's heading for trouble.
We are sovereign states, and it is the states who grant the different forms of title, not the federal government.
Mr Court believes Mabo raises the dangers of a form of apartheid in Australia, giving land rights and compensation to native Australians while denying them to others.
Mr Keating is trying to push the states into a corner so that we accept certain things.
Queensland's Wayne Goss also worries about Mabo's impact, although he believes Paul Keating is trying to reach an acceptable national solution. Piecemeal action by the separate states on land ownership and usage will destroy investment and development.
We will have a capital strike. We will see our economy suffer badly, and that'll affect both Aboriginal and white Australians.
Vast areas of land in all states are now open to claim. The traditional tribal owners have already begun moves to reclaim 30% of the best agricultural land in New South Wales, and their lawyer says areas of the North Coast and South Coast will be claimed this week.
Why is it a stunt when Aboriginal people merely try to get a little bit of what they've lost? Why is that a stunt?
The High Court's historic ruling that a form of native title does exist reinforces the argument that the claims aren't stunts. Peter Harvey, Canberra.
Embarrassment for police on the Central Coast, with confidential files relating to Operation Noah found on a local rubbish tip. Inside were names and addresses of suspected drug dealers, as well as a statement by a teenage rape victim.
The Kincumber tip was the unlikely dumping ground for the confidential documents. Strewn across the rubbish mounds were discarded files from the Gosford police station, believed to contain the names of suspected drug dealers, police informants, even victims of sexual assault. It's claimed many of the files were generated from the annual anti-drug campaign, Operation Noah.
I'm absolutely appalled and amazed. Haven't they ever heard of shredders?
It's an indefensible breach of both security and privacy.
Police say the documents were sealed and buried under departmental supervision. It was earth-moving equipment, they say, that unfortunately brought the files to the surface.
Now, that's not desirable. It won't happen again. They will not be buried again. They'll be either shredded, and where that is not possible, they'll be incinerated.
The Gosford files in question have been returned to police and destroyed, but the state opposition argues a vital link will be far harder to remedy, that of public trust.
And I think it's a terrible thing that we've jeopardised as a consequence of this, the relationship and flow of information between the public and the police.
A police spokesperson claimed today a shredder has now been ordered for the Gosford police station. Mark Ferguson, National 9 News.
A first-grade rugby league player has been charged over possession of the drug ecstasy after being arrested at an Eastern Suburbs hotel last night. The 23-year-old is believed to play for Canterbury, but police are not releasing his name. He'll appear in court at the end of the month. Fire has badly damaged an office block in North Sydney, destroying a business supply shop and causing traffic chaos. One man got out just in time as the building went up in flames.
Firemen arrived to find the three-storey building blazing just after midday.
They smashed in the windows. The flames got worse, so they couldn't go in.
The fierce heat forced the crews back several times before they got to the heart of the fire.
It was pretty hot in there. The crews carried out a fairly sustained effort to get in there.
A man working at the back of the building had raised the alarm, escaping before it turned into an inferno. Police blocked off the normally busy Pacific Highway as 5 crews worked to stop the flames spreading. But they couldn't save a business supply shop inside the block or thousands of dollars in office equipment. The cause is still being investigated. Chris Castellari, National 9 News.
Searchers have so far failed to find the body of a mother of 5 taken by a shark during a family outing off Tasmania yesterday. Police are still withholding the victim's name and say they'll resume the search if bad weather clears tomorrow.
The 35-year-old woman was a mother of quads and a 1-year-old baby. The children were in a nearby boat with their father when they witnessed the brutal shark attack. She had just entered the water near a seal colony on 10th Island when she was grabbed by the 3.5-metre white pointer. Her 2 diving friends also witnessed the attack.
The man and the woman initially got to the bottom, and the remaining female diver was having difficulty in descending, and when they looked around they saw that she had in fact been attacked by a shark.
Police rescue boats and a fixed-wing aircraft searched the area yesterday. They found part of the woman's leg and her torn wetsuit. Today the search resumed, but shortly before midday bad weather forced the hunt to be abandoned. Police say pods of killer whales had been spotted off the north coast recently and that people knew of the dangers of diving in the area.
But I think it's very much common knowledge that it's just not prudent to dive in a seal colony.
The woman lived with her family near Exeter, a small town 20 kilometres north of Launceston. They were well known in the area and the tiny community has been devastated by her death. Jane Henschke, National 9 News.
In the news ahead, the death of a country music legend and the Australians who are the envy of Old Trafford.
Give us a can. How'd you get that job? Are you getting paid for it?
Speed cameras are coming out from behind bushes and parked cars as police try new ways to get drivers to slow down. From now on, the cameras will be clearly visible and there'll be no excuses for getting caught.
Drivers have long despised speed cameras as sneaky gadgets designed to raise money. But now the police are coming out in the open.
It's a high-profile education campaign, and we really want to educate people about saving lives, about reducing incidents of speeding.
Based on the theory that seeing more police will convince drivers to slow down, from now on, speed cameras will be highly visible. They'll only be used in traffic black spots, and in addition to the existing warning signs, officers will be in plain sight in uniform. Only marked police cars will be used, and another sign will tell drivers that yes, that camera was working.
And quite honestly, with all of those warnings, if you are still photographed, then to me that is fair comp.
Police say their research shows speed cameras do save lives. There's been a 20% reduction in serious accidents at locations where they're used. A hotline has been set up for questions about speed cameras. The number is 008 805 156. Mark Barlin, National 9 News.
A group of Queensland farmers has declared independence from the rest of Australia in a bid to save their debt-ridden properties. They've set up their own principality, complete with church and court, and have vowed to fight off repossession by the banks.
A war is brewing near Marlborough, north of Rockhampton, and the rebels are a group of farmers.
Help the farmer!
At the centre of the battle, George and Stephanie Muirhead, who've barricaded themselves on their property Kirrawonga to stop the Commonwealth Bank repossessing the land.
It's a very peaceful group of people that are very concerned about what's happening to our nation.
The Muirheads who borrowed on the short-term money market claim they were misled by the bank. Throwing the receivers off the property, the family's been joined by more than 40 farmers who've accused banks of asset stripping and theft.
Had their whole life's work stolen away.
Defying bank officials and police, they've declared themselves an independent territory, the Principality of Marlborough, and are threatening to stage their own court proceedings against anyone caught trespassing.
You know, we're going to expose this banking system and the corrupt justice that exists.
The situation's outgrown the local police, who gave up talking to the farmers and called for legal advice.
There's going to come a time when the police are going to come onto your place.
The Principality is now flying its own flags and has appointed the Divine Church of Providence as its official religion. The rebels are prepared for nothing less than invasion. Raine, Grady, National 9 News.
26 United Nations soldiers have been killed in Somalia in the worst outbreak of violence since the arrival of the peacekeepers. Most were from a Pakistani regiment attacked by local gunmen inside a security zone in Mogadishu. In Bosnia, a Red Cross ambulance crew had to dodge bullets as they drove through a street battle. They were trying to rescue an injured woman unaware of fighting in the area. They finally managed to reach her and escaped unharmed. American country singer Conway Twitty has died after collapsing in his tour bus at the end of a concert. The 59-year-old died in Springfield, Missouri. The exact cause of his death still isn't known, but he was recently treated for stomach problems. Twitty began his career as a rock and roll artist in the 50s. Among more than 40 #1 hits, It's Only Make Believe and Tight-Fitting Jeans.
What's a woman like you doing here?
2 travelling Australians have landed a dream job in England, all because of the Ashes battle between 2 rival beer makers. They're being paid to sit and drink 4X all day, just around the corner from the first test at Old Trafford.
The bitter battle for the Ashes is becoming an even more bitter battle of the beers. You simply can't miss the fact 4X sponsors the Australians and local brew Tetley Bitter sponsors the English. Now both companies are going to the same extremes as the cricketers to outgun each other. The latest volley, what 4X claims is a world first, an extraordinary living poster near Old Trafford. Holidaying Australians Dave Woolbank and Snowy McCallum have been hired to sit and drink from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. Fascinating passing cricket fans. What do people say to you?
Give us a can. How'd you get that job? Are you getting paid for it?
This ad brings out the worst in human nature, envy.
No, I do it for nothing. I think the cheeky expecting a wage as well.
And greed.
Are these offices too tight to give us boys a tinny or what?
Dave and Snowy hope they'll be hired for the full series.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be back at Lord's next week for another selection.
The Ashes beer war will hit a crescendo in the 6th test. Nick McCallum at Manchester for National 9 News.
And with the latest from the real test at Old Trafford, here's Ken Sutcliffe.
Yes, it's all good news for Australia, isn't it? We'll have that, and the Broncos in an amazing fight back.
Can he go all the way? You bet he can, and Johns is over underneath the post.
With the Australian Rugby League squad to tour New Zealand named tomorrow morning, some important club matches to finish off round 10. Manly and Canberra doing battle in Nine's match right after the news. In the other 2 matches today, Balmain defeated Gold Coast 12-6 and Brisbane, another great escape, coming back to thrash West 36-16.
To the 40,000 at ANZ, it was soon obvious why Jason Taylor is on everyone's shopping list. Willie Kahn handed West another shot by running a long way to find touch. The Magpies were rearranging the pecking order at ANZ.
Numbers going on here, and it does.
Down 14-0, Brisbane lost Terry Madison, Kyle White the tackler.
Oh dear, if that's not a head, I am not here.
At 16-0, Alan Langer felt the Broncos had better join the show. Only a forward pass prevented the Magpies from kicking away again before the break. They bombed another one soon afterwards.
They tried to get the pass away, they've lost and they messed it up.
Without Alan Langer for most of the second half, Brisbane's powers of recovery were quite amazing. Inside 5 minutes, Kevin Walters had the Broncos in front. Just as he did in Origin 3, Walters mounted a cool rescue mission.
Kevin Walters, through for the try, it's so easy.
2 fearless fullbacks came together with a crack. Paul Hoff worse for wear and leads among the walking wounded. The Broncos scored 30 points in as many minutes, Chris Johns showing what it really means to streak away for a try.
Super try.
At Leichhardt, a pass from Jason Hetherington gave Balmain its first try, David Baysari away, and the Tigers ahead 8-0. In the second half, Dale Shearer brought the Seagulls back to 8-6. Danny Peacock's foot on the touchline cost the Seagulls a hope of upsetting the Tigers. 2 minutes before the end, a kick from Baysari, and Lions wrapped it up. The ladder has the Bears on 17 and clear leaders over Canterbury and the Dragons.
The Raiders and Manly will play for their points in Nine's match right after the news. In Footy Tab, the winner's $14.45, the margin's 87.15 and the score $423.50. Tim Sheridan, National 9 News.
Queensland has won the first State of the Union rugby clash against New South Wales at Waratah Stadium. Scoring 4 tries to 1, the Reds ran up an unbeatable first half lead, winning 29-17.
Labelled favourite for the first clash, New South Wales attracted plenty of support, but the game hadn't warmed up when David Wilson opened the Reds' account.
That's a great step, turning it back. It's try time for Queensland.
The Queensland pack stamped their authority. With a little help from the backs, a 13-man drive gave Tambua his first.
All the backs joining. Here's a great push. The try has been awarded.
Everything was falling the Reds' way when this penalty kick rebounded. David Wilson was first there.
She's in great form. That's a try.
Down 21-3, the Waratahs finally got into enemy territory and capitalised through Bryle on the boil.
Michael Bryle comes up with the reply.
After the break, New South Wales pressured the Reds for nearly 20 minutes with only 2 penalties to show for it.
The ball placed, sneaks it inside that right hand upright.
Finally, up the other end, Tambua had the legs to break free and Scott Young made it 4 tries to the back row for a convincing victory. Meanwhile, the Socceroos got off to a dream start in the return leg of the World Cup qualifying series against New Zealand.
Vidmar inside, Vid goes for goal!
1-0 after 2 minutes, Australia struck again. 90 seconds later, Slater the perfect cross to Vidmar.
Lovely ball for Vidmar! The goal! Oh, this is amazing!
Destroying any hope of a Kiwi comeback, Zelic nailed number 3 early in the second half.
The chance for glory!
Arnold should have scored himself, but 3-0 was good enough to see Australia go on to meet Canada in the next stage. David Peters, National 9 News.
In AFL, South Australia is the champion state of Australian rules, defeating Victoria last night in the State of Origin final. The Crow Eaters won by 12 points, winning at the MCG for the first time in 30 years. And in the NBL, the Sydney Kings losing streak continued last night, Newcastle winning by 5. Australia is in a commanding position after day 3 of the Ashes Test against England at Old Trafford. The home side added just 8 runs to its first innings and was all out for 210. Hughes and Warne with 4 wickets each. An unbeaten 85 from David Boone and 64 from Mark Waugh have helped Australia to 3 for 231 at stumps, an overall lead of 310.
Summer had finally arrived in Manchester and the locals took full advantage of the rare burst of sunshine. The Aussies wrapped up the English tailing quickly, both Warne and Hughes finishing with 4 wickets.
Always hit him and through to the keeper.
With a lead of 79, Taylor and Slater began where they left off, before Australia's bogeyman Peter Such gained a vital break for the home side. Slater was playing with confidence, taking on Such, but he attacked once too often. Australia 2 for 46.
It's in the air and he's out.
That brought together Boone and Mark Waugh. After beginning watchfully, the two produced some great shots.
Use of the feet to the pitch of the ball.
Waugh in particular was aggressive towards the pace of Lewis.
Yeah, that's a 6.
Luck was also running with the Aussies. Smith gave Waugh a life, spilling a difficult catch. Boone, though, was superb. His array of shots taking him to another half-century.
On the up and form, Waugh.
But after putting on 109, the partnership was broken. Waugh misjudging the spin of Tufnell.
Pitching into the rough, got it to turn, mate.
The dismissal didn't stem the run flow. Borders started aggressively, and Boone took to part-time spinner Graham Hick to be just 15 short of his first ton in England.
There'll be a long chase for Lewis.
With a lead of more than 300, Australia is in a great position to take the first test.
I think we'd have to play very, very badly to lose, and they'd have to play absolutely brilliantly. Obviously, we're in the box seat. We've got to take advantage of it.
Nine's coverage resumes at 8:30 tonight. Andrew Bensley, National 9 News.
Top seed Steffi Graf has won her 3rd French Open tennis crown, beating American Mary Jo Fernandez in the final. Graf had to fight back from a set down to overcome Fernandez, 4-6, 6-2, 6-4.
Chasing her first Grand Slam title, 21-year-old Fernandez had Graf's measure early on. Willing to rally with Graf, Fernandez won the battle of the baseline, snaring the opening set. Jolted by the setback, Graf exploded into the second. Showing more desperation, the top seed earned another break to lead 4-2. Graf was firing, while Fernandez seemed to be running on empty. Losing the second, she needed glucose tablets to keep going. Graf had her opponent worked out and executed the plan perfectly. Enticing Fernandez to the net, she set up the vital break. Fernandez couldn't match the famous power and poise of Graf as she lined up Grand Slam title number 12.
A tremendous battle, one of the finest women's finals we've seen here in years.
Having lost some tight matches here in the past, Graf was relieved to be back on top. At the spectacular Muirfield Village course in Ohio, a third round 74 has Greg Norman out of contention in the Memorial Golf Tournament.
And he didn't have a particularly pleasant front side, 3 over.
Norman is now 8 off the pace, set by American Payne Stewart with a 67. He is 14 under and leads by 3 over Paul Azinger. David Peters, National 9 News.
Ford's domination of the Australian Touring Car Championship continued with Glenn Seaton easily winning round 6 at Eastern Creek. After a great start, Seaton won the first heat comfortably, setting up pole position for the second. With teammate Alan Jones, Seaton never looked back, the pair finishing first and second.
1-2 across the line.
Wayne Gardner threatened before ending his race by colliding with John Bowe, who went on to finish third. Seaton leads the championship by 29 points from Jones, with John Bowe third. And another long night coming up, Jim.
Scent of victory in the air, not to mention Boone Century.
Yes.
It'll be great. The weather is next, then the end of the 40-hour famine. But first, the soccer pool.
Get into it, quick, sure.
After all that rain, a sunny day for Sydney, a top of 18 in the city. That's 1 above average. Tomorrow should be cool, but mainly sunny. 19 degrees, light to moderate wind, seas 2 to 3 metres. On the synoptic chart, a high over the Bight is directing cool air across the eastern half of the state. A cold front from the Tasman expected tomorrow. Around the country, showers in Melbourne and Adelaide, fine elsewhere. And looking ahead for Sydney, fine but cool for the start of the week. Well, it's been a trying weekend for thousands around the country, starving themselves for a good cause. Raising money for World Vision, they started the 40-hour famine at 8 o'clock on Friday night after a last-minute feed.
Did someone come over here and grab a sausage, please?
This group of teenagers spent the night at the Hyde Park Barracks in old-fashioned army hammocks. Saturday's diet was restricted to liquids. But at midday, the wait was over. The army helping out with welcome supplies.
Get into it, quick, sure.
World Vision hopes to raise at least $8 million from this year's campaign. Well done. That's the news this Sunday night. I'm Jim Waley. Good night.